The Oklahoma State Cowboys have a monumental task in front of them at the National Duels Invitational going down Saturday and Sunday. And Coach Taylor had the Cowboys looking pretty dang good against Stanford in their home opener. But the gauntlet they're going to have to go through to bring home a national title is going to be a completely different level of rigor. Let's get into it. It gets started on Saturday morning. You can watch every match live on FloWrestling. And then the finals will be on ESPN2. And Oklahoma State's opening match going to be against the Cornell Big Red. Now, the Big Red will ultimately have a very, very good team. But a lot of their guys are out for the first semester, so it's going to be a bit of a skeleton crew, which is not going to bode well for the Big Red, at least not in this dual meet matchup. However, a couple really big matches that you're going to want to pay a close attention to. Probably the biggest, 174 pounds, Alex Facundo versus Simon Ruiz. That's a great matchup. This will be Facundo's biggest test so far of the year at 174. And Ruiz, he's already had a tough match. He wrestled Lenny Pinto at the All-Star Classic, had a comeback victory there. That's going to be an exciting one. And also 149, Jackson Joy. Looked great at the Clarion Open. Beat all the college wrestlers there, including All-American Ethan Styles. Fell only to Bo Bassett. So Jackson Joy for Cornell, there's a lot of excitement around him. And he will likely face Casey Swiderski for the Cowboys. So Cowboys likely to move on there and face, I think, maybe, it's a guess, but probably NC State. NC State versus UNI round one. That's probably going to be a closer match than some people realize. If you don't have a guy healthy or if you're not 100% ready or you get upset, that could definitely flip it for NC State's way. But let's hypothesize here and say it is NC State. We would get a national finals rematch at 125. Vince Robinson of NC State, who beat Troy Spratley in the NCAA finals last year. That would be starting this one off with a bang. And as you look at this, does NC State have a path to pull the upset off here? I think they do. There's a path. My pick is ultimately going to be Oklahoma State in this dual meet. But if you think about Vince Robinson, Ryan Jack could beat Sergio Vega, a freshman. Coy Biskins could beat Casey Swiderski at 49. Jackson Arrington, maybe he's an underdog, Arrington against Landon Robidoux. But don't forget, Jackson Arrington, really good guy, redshirted last year and has a win over Caleb Henson. Not many guys with that win walking around NCAA wrestling. Matthew Singleton, another big test for Alex Facundo, number 6 ranked Matthew Singleton. And then Isaac Trumbull at heavyweight. Can he beat Connor Doucette? So those are the matchups that I think are winnable for Coach Papalizio's Wolfpack. They're a tough dual team. They are missing some guys that'll be there second semester, like Patrick Brophy, who's really tough. But a big opportunity here, and one maybe I didn't mention that I should. At 133, Zach Redding against Richard Figueroa. Redding's a dog, guys, but he's been, behind some really good guys at Iowa State, the Frosts and other wrestlers at 41. Now he's back down at 33. For NC State, he's a clear starter there. He's had a good start to his season. Figueroa, still a bit of an unknown at 133. Looked good for a period and a half or so against Tyler Knox before falling in that match. We're going to learn a lot about Richie this weekend, I believe. Will Denny will take on D. Lockett at 165. That's another pretty good match. I mean, this is ultimately a really, really competitive, fun dual meet that's going to be going on round 2. Should the Cowboys get past the Big Red and NC State, they will likely face the Iowa Hawkeyes. This is an absolutely star-studded matchup and the sport's greatest rivalry, without a doubt. And really, for Oklahoma State or Iowa, this is a toss-up dual meet. There's a, I think for Oklahoma State, they're favored at in my mind, opinions can vary, but they're favored at 25, 49, 57, and 97 kind of clearly. And then for Iowa, I think they're favored at 33, Drake Ayala over Richard Figueroa, though Richie beat him in the NCAA finals. You can't forget that. I think they're favored at 41, Nasir over Vega. I think they're favored at 65, Caliendo over Lockett. Opinions can definitely vary there. I think T's going to be right in the mix to win that match. And then I think Ben Keeter, he's 1-0 against Connor Doucette. And so you got to make him a favorite. So that means these two, what I have identified as the toss-ups, Patrick Kennedy and Alex Facundo, very close match. Last time they wrestled 2-1 tiebreaker match back when They were both at 165. Now they're at 174. Completely different wrestlers, but they both have seemingly improved. So I would expect a similarly very competitive match between Facundo and Kennedy, who, man, these guys have been battling for years now. I remember in 2019, those two wrestled at Who's Number One. It was Kennedy winning there. And so now Facundo going to try to get that win over Patrick Kennedy. And then Angelo Ferrari, Zack Ryder. As soon as Zack Ryder dominated Jackson Smith, we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to see Ryder versus Angelo potentially in the semifinals. So that's obviously a fireworks match. And, you know, there's going to be a lot asked of Coach Taylor's freshman crew here, right? They're going to be starting likely 5 freshmen at least. They started 5 against Stanford, and they all won. So you would expect health, as long as they're healthy, that they'll all go. So that adds an element of intrigue, of uncertainty even, just because young guys, you just don't know. They could be great one match, and then they can fall off or not as perform the same, even for Zack Ryder, right? You major Jackson Smith, and then you kind of go have a super competitive match with an unranked guy from Stanford. So that just kind of points to what I'm talking about here with the inconsistency. But on the other side of the coin, these guys are getting better at such a quick rate. Maybe they're just scratching the surface of their ability. So really, it's going to come down to those freshmen. It's going to come down to those toss-up matches for Oklahoma State to get the win there over the Iowa Hawkeyes. What promises to be a incredibly competitive semifinal, which is going to go down on Sunday. And then, regardless of if Oklahoma State wins this duel or not, I think their next match is going to be against either Ohio State or Nebraska in the final or the third place match. So I want to preview both because I think they're both very plausible matches to happen. So against Ohio State, this would be, I think, my prediction for the finals. I think it'll be Ohio State versus Oklahoma State. As I'm looking at things, that's the way I see it. Ultimately, one match can throw all these, not one duel, I mean one literal individual match can turn that upside down. So you can never have a lot of confidence coming in these things, but that's how I see it. So we'll preview it that way. Oklahoma State versus Ohio State. Troy Spratley, Brendan McCrone. McCrone's got that upset knockout power. Will it be Nick Bouzakis? Do they think that's a better matchup? I don't know. We'll see what Coach Ryan is feeling in that moment. But you favor Spratley there. You favor Oklahoma State at 57. I think over Brandon Cannon. Lena Rabadou over Brandon Cannon. I mean, it's definitely a question. Maybe that should be a toss-up. Maybe I'm getting a little too ahead of myself after watching Rabadou do what he just did. What Rabba did. Maybe I'll coin that one. Maybe that's part of it. And, seeing Brandon Cannon lose to Melvin Miller, who's great, but I watched Lena Rabadou kind of control Melvin Miller a year ago. So it's kind of weird to reference high school results. It's just a different time. It's just a different time of analyzing wrestling. And I think all that stuff matters. And then at 65, you probably favor D. Lockett over Gallagher. But then I think 74, 84, 97, squarely in that toss-up territory. I think Facundo and Carson Hartzler, that's a really close match. I believe they've split. I think they've both beaten each other. Hard to call a clear favorite in this one, in my opinion. This is back when they were both at 65. Ryder and Dylan Fishback. Listen, Dylan Fishback, he can really wrestle. This guy's tough. He was really solid in his first 2 seasons for NC State, was getting better. Now at Ohio State, he looked good in early competition. I'd expect this to be a one takedown match either way, so it's toss-up territory for me, even though you would probably say Ryder's the favorite. And then Geog versus Merrill. We're going to learn a lot about Luke Geog this week. This is someone who Ohio State has been excited about for a couple of years. Health and other things have kept him out of the lineup. Now he's back. And Cody Merrill, man, he was a dog at the end of that match against Posada. Posada looked like he had it won. Merrill gets away, gets the takedown. And maybe this is not considered like a toss-up match if he loses that match. Maybe so. But it's 9 versus 10 in America, so it's a toss-up as well. And then at heavyweight, I think Nick Feldman is the guy you favor here. Then that's what makes this tournament so amazing. We're going to find out so much about how good these guys. There's a lot of question mark kind of wrestlers that we think could be really good, but they haven't shown it yet. They haven't shown they're like national champion, All-American caliber guys at this point. So will we see that from Connor Doucette? There's a lot of excitement about him. There's a lot of excitement about a lot of these young guys. And so we're going to find out a lot in this dual meet. And so the path for Ohio State, I think it is uphill because I think Oklahoma State has a few more clear favorites than or at least one more clear favorite than Ohio State. So those little things kind of matter, but ultimately these toss-ups are gonna decide the dual meet. I mean, Richard Figueroa versus Ben Davino. Are you telling me there's a clear favorite there? I don't see it. Richard looked, I already elaborated on how he looked. And Ben Davino's a freshman, but we're talking about a national champion in Figueroa. I'm not writing this off, even though Davino's ranked higher. Swiderski and Styles, I mean, these are two guys you don't know what you're going to get. Swiderski was kind of like one of the main stories after the All-Star Classic and how he beat Lachlan McNeil. Then he gets dominated by Aiden Valencia, who the week before just lost to David Evans. And for Ethan Styles, he got pinned by Jackson Joy and beaten pretty soundly by Tyus of SIUE. So I think SIUE. Sorry if that's incorrect. I'm going this off the dome here. But I think for that, it's like that. These are two toss-up kind of guys. I don't know who has the edge there at 149. So incredibly competitive duel. It's hard to even call either a favorite with that many undecided matchups. That's what's going to make this duel so incredible. It's going to be in the balance throughout. Every single match, every single point is going to have high importance. And then I'll briefly, preview Oklahoma State versus Nebraska because that's just as likely to be a final or a third place match as anything. But besides, these two are going to duel later in December as well. So if they don't wrestle here, fret not. We could see this match down the line. But Oklahoma State, I think, is favored clearly in 3 matches. Spratley over Lauridsen, Swiderski over freshman Nikkei Zinkin, and then D. Lockett favored over LJ Araujo. But then we get into a lot of toss-up territory. 33, Jacob Van D, Richard Figueroa. If you think there's a favorite there, I think you're crazy. It's going to be tough to predict that one. I think Hardy is a favorite over Sergio Vega. I think that's sort of obvious. He's a returning finalist. He's a Big Ten champion. Love Vega as a prospect, but right now he's just a prospect. He's 1-0 as a college wrestler, and there's a lot yet for Sergio to prove that he can be in this match against someone as good as Brock Hardy. But this match will be crazy. I mean, the scrambling proficiency that both these guys have shown in their wrestling. If there's a lot of exchanges, they're going to be long exchanges, extended, ankle to ankle. I think this could be a very fun one. Two guys that like to attack, like to scramble, tough from the top position. But Brock Hardy's so experienced, it's tough to see anyone getting, other than Brock, getting their hand raised there. But sign me up for that match. 57, I think you could talk me into this being a toss-up, but I think you need to favor the returning national champion, Antrell Taylor, in this matchup until proven otherwise. Even though Landon Robidoux looked great, it's one match. Antrell is it's his 3rd year. He's an All-American as a freshman, national champion as a sophomore. He has earned the designation of a favorite, although I think this is a very close competitive match. And then more toss-ups. Facundo Minto. Minto moving up. Both moving up from 165. That's a toss-up. Ryder Allred. Clear toss-up. Allred, a Big Ten champion, down now at 184 for the 2nd year. Zach Ryder, great prospect, but I think this is a close one. And then Cody Merrill versus Camden McDaniel. McDaniel was a bit of a surprise. He was a high-seeded All-American, but he placed. He figured it out. Seemingly was putting it together at the end of last year, which has me excited. I want to see how he looks into this year. He's already taken a loss, so I think this is a clear toss-up. And then you got to favor AJ Ferrari over his former teammate Connor Doucette in that heavyweight match. So a few more, probably both have 3 favorites, 41, 57 in heavyweight for Nebraska, 25, 49, and 65 for Oklahoma State. And the rest, basically coin flip type of matches. At least on paper, at least right now as I sit here on a Wednesday thinking about these matches. So that's Oklahoma State's likely path through the national duels. I think they've got a great chance at winning. They might be my pick. And Coach Taylor is going to have them ready. And one thing to note for all these teams, they get to bring 16 wrestlers. And I think we're going to see coaches getting really strategic with their usage, playing matchups, resting guys maybe before a big duel or a big matchup coming up. And I'm curious to see how all these teams manage their rosters. And, these elite teams, Oklahoma State, Iowa, Nebraska, they've got a lot of depth. We could see Cade Ziola wrestle some matches for Nebraska. We could see, Kaler wrestling at 25 for Nebraska. There's just a lot of options. Could we see Leo DeLuca for Iowa? That would not surprise me one bit. So, monitoring the roster for Coach Taylor, a team with a ton of depth as well, with very competitive wrestle-offs. Don't be surprised if it's not the same 10 every single match for the Cowboys. So that's my breakdown. That's my preview for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Give me your thoughts. How well will Coach Taylor's Cowboys perform? Do you think they're going to win the National Duels Invitational? Reminder, first off, big special thanks to Paycom for putting this event on, investing in the sport, and creating just an amazing, amazing event. And then you can watch every match live on FloWrestling, 27 of the 28 duels on Flow, and then the finals, of course, as I mentioned, on ESPN2. Thanks so much. See you in Tulsa.